what we're going to talk about are functions. And the idea of a function is this. Suppose you have some sand. And you put that into a factory. And out you get are the windows. So this is the input. This is the output. Now, the input, we're kind of free to choose. We can choose whatever kind of sand we want. Okay, given that the factory can work with it. But maybe we can use like a red sand, a green sand, something that gives different colors. And then the window, it's dependent upon all the input that we used. So we refer to the input as independent. And we call this dependent. And what we're going to do with functions is this. The input will represent as x. The factory is f of x. And the way we look at these parentheses, when we usually use parentheses, we think multiplication, like f times x. That's not what's going on here. This is more like factory doors that gobble up x and gets processed in the factory. Unfortunately, it's also the same way of saying f times x. And then the output is y. So to do a quick example, suppose this is our factory. Take x when it goes into the factory doors, multiply it by 4, and then subtract 3. So how does this work? Well, let's suppose we choose x is 2. So what this means is we're going to feed to this factory 2. What will this factory do to the number 2? It'll multiply it by 4 and then subtract 3. And here, this is the multiplication. Again, this is this different way of using parentheses, where these are like the factory doors. 2 is going into the doors of the factory. But this here means multiplication. It's just one of those weird things in math, unfortunately. And so we get 8 minus 3 or 5. And so the output is 5. So here's the input. Here's the output. Lastly, like any good factory, we want to keep records of what went in and then what came out. So if you put in red sand, you should get maybe red windows. If you put in blue sand and then you maybe get green windows, well, all right, there you go. We want to keep records of this. So the way we do that is we always pair up an input with its output. And we do it like this. So the input was 2, and the output was 5. And so this is what we call the input coordinate, or the x coordinate. This is the output coordinate, or the y coordinate. And combined together in x comma y, call this a point. So when we take an input, we put it into the factory and get an output, we pair them up. We always put the input first and the output last. And this combination of input and output, this combination of x and y, we call that a point. So that's it. That's an introduction to functions. Next, we're going to be looking at how to graph them. There's a way we can make a picture using these points. So any questions about that, let me know.